if you are into politics, have a consistent messaging.
An
It
electorate
can be
that is
unattractive for
awake
people.
and
It can
aware.
make other people uncomfortable, but be very consistent with your message. If you have a consistent message, you will attract loyal followers and deep support base. Hiyo, I think, is one of the things yenye imesaidia Trump. Whatever he said, he wasn't apologetic about it. He meant it, and that meant that amepata supporters wenye walikuwa loyal to him. You can see those votes. Like, in fact, from 20, if you compare performance yake in those swing states, you could see that he was making up huge numbers compared to 2020. The next thing was political supporters. However much unaweza jidanganya tio tuko tribeless or tuko partyless. Something that came up clearly is that political supporters are the same. These people will support their own. Politicians, supporters will always go for their own. You could see what the Biden administration tried to do with the Trump. Over 34 felony court cases. And these guys still supporters wake walikuwa na yeye and they sympathize with him. It's the same thing that mulifanya 2013 mkapigia Uhuru na Ruto, and then again 2017 mkapigia Uhuru twice, and then 2022 now with the Ruto. So sympathy really earns you a lot in politics. So that again imekuwa too very clear. And then in terms of tallying, you know that as at now hatakuna official results zenye zimetolewa na the electoral body, but already people have done tallying and it has been called that Nani is the president. I think that's a powerful message on the role of media kwa easy elections zetu. There's no point that the likes of Nation Media Group or Royal Media Services or Standard Group, they cannot be doing this tallying in our call elections. This is something that should be encouraged, because at this time and point, when we have got internet and elections at polling station are final, inafaa kuwa that within 2 days or 1 day tunajua results zetu, even though if IBC jatoa, because I fail to understand why stations like KTN or Citizen during elections they start doing tallying and then all of a sudden wanna stop, and then sasa wanasema tunangoja IBC. So what was the whole idea ya kufanya tallying if you cannot even announce those results? Because the results at the polling stations are final, so you should not declare them like official, but yes, you should have got your tallies. And then now tukikuja kwa hii point yenye nini, before nikuje kwa hiyo, another thing that we should all learn is that politics is there to stay with us, and professionals, especially watu kwa hii Twitter, wherever you are, you should be involved in politics. Usema ati politics ni mbaya. You saw what Elon did with Trump, and this is a guy mwenye he had everything. The government was working for him, but still he thought that things could be done better. For him, there was no point of a rocket sitting in a pad for 2 weeks because a government employee has push a paper from desk A to desk B. So this is a wake-up call that watu wenye wanasemanga they think that politics is bad, or saying that I don't involve in politics, they think is fashionable. This is a wake-up call. You have to be involved in politics and you have to make choices, whether mtu ni mbaya or ni mzuri. Choose one and make sure that you involve in politics. So that is just lessons yenye mi nimeona kwa whatever comes up or this election. Now, to the issue of Ambassador wa Kenya, I agree completely with what Kowino was saying. The interest of America will always come first. It doesn't matter who is going to be the ambassador. If the ambassador is standing for something that benefits America, trust me, it will come first. And I don't think we remember, or even we are just ignorant, because some weeks to election, yeah, 2022, Meg Whitman met everyone, is our candidates. Alienda kamit Raila na kamit Ruto. So why do you think she did that? She was basically casting her net wide that, okay, whatever comes in, by the way, kwa hii country, if there are two institutions that will always be open to any president, ni our ambassadors and NIS. Those ones wanakuanga ready to work with anybody who comes in. It doesn't matter mwenye amekuja. Wakikuja, mtu akikuja wana change tune immediately. And this only works because it's for their own benefit. America will always go for whatever works for them. So if Meg Whitman is there to advance America's interest, my guys, atakaa tu hapo. Hakuna mwenye atachange. There's nothing that will change. And remember that it's always in the interest of America to support somebody who's already working for them and already has got influence. So mambo ya kufikiria that Meg Whitman akitolewa it will only because maybe Trump anataka kuweka mtu wake mwenye alimsaidia kwa campaign, but it's not because anakuja kusaidia Wakenya. He has no business kusaidia Wakenya. The embassy ya America ni ya ku-advance interest ya America in Kenya. That is the whole purpose ya embassy. It is to advance the interest of America in Kenya. See interest ya Kenyans in Kenya or in America, no. And then this is why I always also disagree with people, because people made wrong choices walichagua Ruto and then they want somebody else to take responsibility. You have to be responsible for your actions. If you made vote, ulipigia Ruto, mimi sikupigia Ruto kura, by the way. So if you voted for Ruto and you want to you want somebody to abscond you for that burden ya kupigia kura, that is your problem. Meg Whitman is not going to help you to do that. You have to be responsible for the political choices you make. And by the way, today hata mkiamua kutoa hiyo Ruto na mweke Murara hapo ama mweke somebody else US embassy itakuja kuwork na huyo mtu immediate. Kwanza watakuwa the first kumcongratulate because it is their interest to make sure that Kenya is stable, and then watamuingiza tu kwa hiyo system yao. So we have to be very very realistic that the ambassador, the US ambassador in Kenya doesn't work for Kenyans. It is there to work for the American interest. I think that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Resource, I want to get back to you, but you started off very well. Then you just give me a point of departure, and I'll get back to that. But I've seen so much reaction from Calvin. I'll let him go first, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Radisa. Thank you very much. First of all, I really like whatever you are discussing here, because on the situation where we are, you know, we Africans, it is like we are slaves to those Western countries. Today, personally, I'm really supporting Trump because Trump stood very firm with Americans' policies. And he says very well that before we give anybody share, our country first. Our country first. When we give our country share, the rest will get at the end. Now, the problem which we are now having in this country, Africans leaders are pretenders. Africans leaders are pretenders because the resources which we have in these Africans is very many, can make Africans to be very wealthy. Like, for example, Congo. You can see whatever is going in, whatever is happening in Congo. These people have put those people on a war, divide and rule tactics. Those people are really fighting. They're really fighting. And then they know whatever they are taking from Congo, so that those people to remain just beggars. So in Africa, let me now speak to Kenya. In Kenya, if you want to stand firm, if you want to be very steady with these people, these West Africa countries, first of all, we must unite ourselves. We must unite ourselves, because what the media broadcast doing in US is really embarrassing me. They're announcing the results before the owner announce the results, because they know what is happening. In Africans, somebody say that in Kenya, somebody will start and will stop because it's waiting for somebody to announce the results. That is where election in Kenya is not fair. So in this, our country, Kenya, if we want to move forward, we want to move very far. Huh? If we want to move very far, first of all my Gen Zs in this country and the millennials, you must stand firm. You must stop what is called corruption. Corruption must be stopped. Willy Mutonga said something today, and I'm very happy about Willy Mutonga, that The only trusted people in this country is Melonians and Magensis. All those wazee ni wakora zaidi, wakora kutoka Raila hadi Ruto mpaka uende wakora wote ha? Ili Kenya iendelee mbele, wakora kama hawa kwanza tunaweka kando na mnachagua mtu ambaye anaweza ongoza kitu kama hii katiba. This our constitution is well.
Forgive me host and co-host, Otula Bwana Mutunga dosia yake nitakupea baadaye. Anyway, endelea.
Yes, sasa hii Kenya yetu kama tunataka kuendelea mbele, millennials and Magensis, they should team. They need a teamwork where if they said that so and so to be the president, that is final, so that we can go somewhere. Because what is happening in this country, hata nyinyi munaona penye muko, is very shocked, very disappointed, even the people who you think can take you somewhere, really disappointing you. Me this time I'm very tired because I'm very disappointed. I've been disappointed with the prominent people who I think can take me somewhere. Huh? Personally, I was the chairperson of the UDA. I was the chairperson of the UDA in my ward, but I've decided to leave that work because I don't see any truthness in the party. When we want to work together, people must work according to the constitution which guiding that state. Huh? We must work according to the constitution. Even if you are my enemy, but I find that there is something where you have gone right. There is no me opposing you. It is your right. That is your right. Because if I rejected you because of that enmity, I'm abusing the constitution. We must stand still with our constitution. Our constitution is very much important. But this constitution, somebody has put it that it can favor somebody and somebody cannot be favored. That is nonsense. It's nonsense and totally nonsense. And that is why where we are, Wakenya musimama imara. Muache mambo ya ukabila. Ukabila musikae na ukabila. Ukabila sipendi. Mimi Rigiji alikuwa rafiki yangu. Lakini kuna pahali hata yeye alienda vibaya. Lakini nilikuwa naomba serikali ya Kenya imsamehe Rigiji. Hakuna Kenya ambayo mtu anaweza kuwa na share ya mtu. Hii Kenya kila mtu analipa tax. Everybody is paying tax. Kwa hivyo hakuna haja ya kusema ati fulani amebaki, sasa fulani akoe kwa mchanga. Fulani unaona vile Trump alinifurahisha sana. Vile anapiga kampeni US. Anaongea kwa kitu moja. Kama resources ni kutoa resources kwa hii taifa letu, tunaanza na nchi yetu. Watu wa nchi yetu. Si anasema kama mtu wa kabila yangu. Mtu wa nchi yetu kwanza ndio tunaanza kupatia resources. Ndio hao the rest wanapata. Lakini hii Kenya foreigners wanataka kucontrol sana. Unapata Muhindi anaongea na mimi mtu kama vile anataka. Mimi kwanza mimi ni engineer. Pesa yangu ilibaki mahali kwa engineer. Karibu nichukue still nikate nayo engineer. Muhindi. Ananiambia ati bado hiyo pesa hakuna, ati sisi ndio tuna control, sisi ni foreigners. Nilisema hiyo mijinga mimi sitaki. Mimi sitaki mijinga. Hii ni Kenya yetu ambayo hatutaki ujinga namna hiyo. Hata kama mko hapo mkae namna hiyo na amani na upendo. Asanteni sana, nimechukua muda mrefu sana. Sawa.
Hey, Calvin, I'm glad. I have no regrets giving you the mic. And yes, I am one of those people who believe you should stand up for yourself, especially against foreigners.
Yes.
They cannot mistreat you. They cannot mistreat us abroad and mistreat us at home. I cannot agree to that.
Don't allow them. That is.
Thank you. Yeah. So stand up for your right. I thank you and honor you for taking responsibility. I'd never have imagined that you were in that party, but don't worry, we learn as we go. And yeah, the future for Kenya is bright. Now allow me to go back to Risasi. Risasi started off very well. And then I don't know where despair and learned hopelessness caught up with you. What I tend to believe is that Kenya has not been in a position it is today. People are work, people are speaking up, and people are just determined they want change. But nobody has anything against another. People have decided, you know what, our sovereignty, we will not play around with it. We deserve better, and we will stop at nothing but get better. And I believe me, the Kenya I dream of, the Kenya I want, there is nothing that will ever take that away from me. I believe in an equitable Kenya for all. So when I hear you guys say, "Oh, Meg, American interest," how comes American ambassadors don't walk all over Ethiopia? How comes they don't do it even in smaller countries?
Nothing. I wish I can get a
So
minute.
I'm coming
I
to
wish
that.
I wish I can get a
Nothing.
minute later.
I wish to give some thoughts.
I was waiting. I really have been waiting to get such a minute. If you can, like, once everybody comes around, if I can get a minute to really, nothing for the sake of it.
Let him talk. He's been
And Wanjiru, if I can get a minute to answer to some of those questions, because I've been probably for an hour and 15 minutes.
I'll not agree with that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, I don't know whether it was a previous space or it was this one. I've lost track. I'm very tired.
Nothing. I also wish to ask you to substantiate
guys,
as well. When you're giving the examples, substantiate as well.
A minute.
Yes, substantiate as well. Yes.
A minute. I told you guys I was one of the crusader of the campaign when America was trying to make sure that the Ethiopians don't build the hydroelectric dam. And they were trying to pitch them against Sudan and against Sudan and Egypt about the Nile water. And they said no. And it became war, and that's how UN came in, and they started saying, oh, you know, there are people who are hungry and you need to allow us to bring in food. And eventually the food they dropped were actually filled with firearms. And this information was on the TL because this was in 2020. But they stood up, they fought tooth and nail. That's why I'm very disappointed to see Abiy giving in to Bill Gates' demand. And those guys said, and I've been to Ethiopia, they have decided we will develop at our pace, but our country will never be a dumping ground, and they are willing to go into manufacturing. The same Chinese that is an extortionist in other African country is a partner in Ethiopia, including for foreign exchange. They control how much you can go in and out with. They've made taxes for like in Addis, you find, you know, okay, I wouldn't know, but like very, very old cars, the kind of cars you lock with a padlock, because for them they're determined to have a manufacturing assembly for vehicles in their country. If it's agriculture, they're protecting their seeds. That's why I don't understand after all that battle why Bill Gates.
Nothing. Can you respond to that? Because I know for a very fact that Daniel Risasi and Kowino have spoken of me with my hand up for a minute. Can I do?
But
that's fine.
But I'm trying. Okay, fine.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I don't think
go ahead. That's
okay. Fine. Someone asked me.
I'm not an antagonist, by the way. I'm a fair assessor of how the space goes. Because
I think it comes with listening. At the same time, and what I'm talking about Addis. Actually, we get to the bottom tail of my tweet. You'll see all that war. You will see all that. And I'm a believer in Africa, and I know Africa deserves better. So it is possible for people to rise against Western powers and develop their country. I've seen in different African countries, but for Kenyans, people want to anything unless you allow them. How come Traore is saying, no, you won't do this? I'm going into agriculture. I'm going to build silos. I'll improve this, that, the other. How come they're not doing that for other countries? How come they're not doing that in literally every other country? How comes a specific country? For example, when they were getting out of Afghanistan, there's a treaty that they made Africa sign. And before I come to this, when they were fighting Ethiopia over that water, they were using a 1905 treaty. Why should people be bound to 1905 treaty when you're a sovereign country and you can move forward and make decisions for your country? So when they were getting out of Afghanistan, I remember people complained that there were so many foreigners being wheeled in buses in Westlands, and Matiang'i rounded up the place. Then after that, they backed down. And this was happening, I know, because of I won't give details, but people who were going into Afghanistan when America was trying to exit. They tried to dump the same people in South Africa, and South Africa said no. They told South Africa, you signed a treaty about refugees. And when Matiang'i surrounded them, he backed down because he was bullied with this treaty. But South Africa followed the case in South Africa. South Africa said, no, you're not going to go into a country, rattle them, con them to turn against their countrymen. And when they decide to take power back, you decide you're going to dump them in Africa. I said, I don't think that was the agreement. And then they sent a white lawyer to go and find, and I'll attach that case here, to go and fight this case in court. Someone had to fly in to show some muscle. And they said, we don't care what treaty you guys signed. That was then, this is now, we're not allowing these people here. You destroyed their country with a promise that if they become snitch for their country, you'll take them to the US. And they said, but these are refugees. They said, which kind of refugee who turns up on a flight? They said, the kind of refugees we know, they turn up, they have no passport, they have nothing. All they have is their life. And that they intimidated South Africa, including their judges. They said, no, we will not allow this. This is not how this works. You did not tell us that you will be going into country after country, cause chaos, and instead of taking these people back, you want to dump them in African countries. So there are so many things that people need to wake up. For example, the GMO seed, South Africa, the Zimbabwean guy, first they refused for the case to be heard in Zimbabwe. It was heard in South Africa, and he won. South Africa said no, and South African, by the way, they do not export their first grade crop. They eat it. It's for the locals, and it's way cheaper than what people consume elsewhere. It is possible for nations to stand up against tyranny. It is possible for nations to stand against America. But because people have witnessed this bullying for so long, they think that an American can do whatever they want. How come they don't do it in other countries who put their foot down and decided they are going to develop? How come they don't do that in Dubai? How come they don't do that? And I pick the small countries whereby they had leaders who said, we are going to build our nation. And they did. And Malaysia is one of them. Singapore is one of them. So it's not true to say, oh, an American ambassador will do what they want. No, if you teach them to respect you, they'll do it. They'll do it. So I say no to gerrymandering by Meg Whitman. Kenya deserves respect. Our sovereignty is not something they should tamper with. That constitution is among the things they're using. So I want to fully disagree with that statement. I've seen like Ethiopia. You go to the ground, you talk to these people.
In fact, let me just interject you a little bit before you even complete. I mean, I'm struggling to listen and understand and relate this to what Risasi said. I think if I heard Risasi right, because Risasi is still here, Risasi did not say that. Actually, what you are saying is Kenyans, the leadership needs to stand up to people like Meg White. So if Meg White is meddling in the Kenyans' affairs, how is that our problem? The problem is the leadership. So the person who is to blame is the leadership. That is what Risasi was saying. And that's why Risasi was saying the choice of leadership is our problem. So Risasi was trying to say, even if we bring in Meg Black, Meg Red from America, Meg Yellow, and we still have the same leadership, we will have the same problem. The leadership that has a problem. Thank you.
No, I want to disagree on that. It is not solely about leaders. It is about the citizen understanding their worth and standing by it.
No, but how is that our problem when I never voted for Ruto? How is that my problem? But anyway.
Oh, so you're not Kenyan because if the candidate.
No, let me just give hiyo tu ni banta, usitake hiyo seriously. But anyway, sikupigia Ruto kura. My point is,
but there are countries. You are just right. I mean, how is that your problem? It is not the problem of the citizens, nothing. The problem is the leadership and the choice of leadership.
Let me just clarify nothing.
I think it's getting to a borderline.
Let me just clarify nothing, Nini. Even just to be objective here. Can't we agree that there are countries?
I think it came from.
There are countries. I'm just responding then our chair justice because it's very disrespectful. There are countries that are friends of USA and they are successful. Why do we try to create this impression that if you are involved with USA, then you're automatically bad? I mean, we have the likes of Qatar, we have the Saudi Arabia, we have the UAE that are employing us. They are with USA and they're successful. So, in other words, you have to fix your problem. If you fix your internal problems, countries like Saudi Arabia, they are friends of USA, but wanafanya vitu zenye hata nini USA haiwezi kubali kwao, but they are still friends because their leaders are very responsible for what is happening inside the country. But as long as American interests inakuja, they align up with it. So our issue should be, let's fix ourselves. We should not blame. And this is a problem that I've been having even with this protest. Ruto anaenda kuwa watu mnakuja kublame Raila tio alisign deal na Ruto o alipatiana intellectuals kwa government. No. We should be very ready to take responsibility for our political actions. If you vote somebody bad, expect bad results. If you vote somebody good, expect good results. I mean, it's our responsibility. Na mkiendelea hivi, wacha sitamaliza hiyo, nitakuja baadaye. I have got a point yenye siku nataka kusema juu nilijua itarattle watu. But nitakuja watu wenye walikuja nyuma yangu wakiongea.
Cook. Just cook.
Okay, the point yangu ni, from what I've just seen today, 2027, there's no way millennials and Gen Z can win against Ruto. It's just evident from what we saw today that rural votes is a big thing. So 2027, prepare for Ruto's presidency. That is just how I saw it.
Nothing nazaenda after risasi kidogo tu because mi ni voter Kenya. Mimi unajua ni voter Kenya. Mimi siendi kuvote US alafu nakuja kutaka kukuwa president Kenya.
I'm confused about if I misheard. Did I? Was it a statement that I didn't hear correctly? That is that the previous speaker said that justice for all is disrespectful. I wanted to be clear that
nilikuwa nasema sitaki kuwa disrespectful, niongee before.
Okay, perfect. Because I do not want to be disrespectful. These are my brothers and sisters. Every conversation here, I take it as a brotherly and sisterly conversation that really is for me. I've been very patient waiting because I have a lot of things to respond to. So I wanted to make sure that you don't call me that disrespect. I can never disrespect you, Kogwino. You know that.
We know that, Justice. Thank you very much. Let me say this. Nothing. I think hizi vitu tumekuwa tukisema hapa kwa spaces and I hardly take microphone in these revolution spaces nowadays. Why? Because the people on these spaces now, that is from like everyone else, so long as wako spaces, and maybe most of the people that come to the speaker panel, because now those are the people that we engage most with, hawataki kuambiwa the truth. And the truth is we have a long way to go. I remember the last time I was on a space, niliambiwa mimi nimeingia ODM and I want to wipe a political seat, so nauzia watu uoga. The people who called me that, they were saying that because I told them they were trying to form some kind of military thing to combat the abductions, to prevent people from being abducted. Since they formed that military, or they purported to be forming that military, Aoko was abducted, Atuju kwenye ako sahi, and some other people have still been abducted. And we were telling them, that thing is very impossible because sahi kwenye mimi niko hapa kwa ghetto hapa, wewe Real Joe uko hapo kwenye huko Kileleshwa, nothing, sijui uko wapi, uko Westlands, Wanjiru, wherever you are, hata kama ni Germany, ukikuja kuko abducted, what time will you dial that 911 to appear Kowino? I'm being abducted, kuja utusaidie na hiyo jeshi yako. What time will we come to your rescue? So hizi ni vitu nilikuwa naambia watu saa zingine ziko impossible. Like we have to employ like realistic solutions to these problems. Sai tumeka hapa kwa hii space, it's good we have this space, and it's good we've spent like most time of our day discussing the American election and how when we kick out Meg Whitman, it will make Ruto the best president Kenya has ever had. But it's funny because, like I've said, and I'll still say this time and again, tukienda ballot, God was on the right side. I don't know if God is supposed to be on the left or on the right. Nothing utaniambia Amajon ceremony will come to tell me. God was on either side, and emotions was on the other side. And I'll still say this, maybe watu wataniita nimejoin ODM, but the elections was about punishing Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta, because Uhuru Kenyatta told people Ruto will be a bad president. So when people went to the elections, they wanted to punish Uhuru and Raila, and they wanted to elect a bottom-up man, hustler atawale, hustler atawale. Sai hii lawama tumerushia kila mtu. Raila amesalimiana na Ruto. But what would you do? Wewe, what would you do? Like, tutakuja hapa space, we lie all we want that mimi hata space salimiana. But you don't understand that most people hata hapa saa hii venye tunaongea kwa hii space, maybe wengine wako na kazi. Some of us are jobless. Do you think kesho Ruto akikuofa PS utakataa na unaenda kulipa mshahara, familia yako haitakuwa inateseka? Yes, 90% of you here will come here to the space and say, no, mimi siwezi chukua hiyo kazi, because you want to please the crowd. You will take that job. Stop lying to us. Just accept the truth. Uko jobless, umepewa kazi hata ya PS, ama umepewa kazi unalipwa hata 100 Gs ama 200 Gs, 200 kgs and blah blah blah. Utakataa. So the problem with us, we want watu wanakuja hapa kwa space kwa masaja wa ego. Ikifika 2027 Ruto anaingia asubuhi venye Trump aliingia asubuhi. Mlikuwa mmelala hapa siku saa ngapi? Trump yeye alikuwa shaingia anapatiana speech yake pale ya ushindi. And I've told you guys on this space, yes, people wanasema revolution, we will vote. How many people when you una interact now say when you kuna elections wako hata na voters card? Have you asked yourself that? We have to look for like realistic solutions to this problem. Ruto is not your average politician. Kama Moi alichapa 24, Uhuru, who probably was your average politician, alichapa 10 years. You think Ruto mwenye alikuwa government haikuwa inamtaka, na government ikashikana na Raila ikaemploy machinery yote hadi the incumbent alikuwa anamkampeinia na bado akashinda presidency. You think sasa akiwa kama alikuwa tu deputy, and like ule deputy mwenye hata government haimtaki, leader wake amtaki, you think sasa sisi tuna kelele kwa space and all blah 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 tunaweza kumtoa kwa presidency? Again, some of us, we don't walk hapa Kenya. We don't walk. Like hatutembeagi Kenya. We don't even go to the counties, like the different counties, we interact with people and blah blah blah. Yes, I'm privileged. Mi natembeaga. Mi hata amanta ishangi kama sijaenda Ushago, sijaenda maybe hata 3 counties Kenya. Si ati niko na pesa, by the way. Mi ndio maana hata sichangaji. But the question is, if you go to those counties and interact with those people, jua ground inasema nini? I was telling you guys the other day, ground is very different from what we talk in these spaces. Ground is very hostile to what we think it is. The other time, nakumbuka when Morara alikuwa ameanza, niliwaambia it's not going to be what you people think. Nilipigwa vita nikasema wewe uko against the government, uko kwa payroll ya government. Hapa tu kwa this very same space yenye niko sasa yenye imeandikwa title inasoma breaking news : Trump are sounding, Trump wins. Trumpets are sounding, Trump wins. Nimetoka kuambiwa I'm on maybe payroll ama niko ally wa USA, because nimetoka kusema ukweli. Hata Meg Whitman akitoka, shida zetu zitabaki the same. Nimeambiwa niko na ally wa USA. Now what I was telling you the other day, tulia bana. I was telling you the other day, you guys, that if these things happen, hata Trump akinini, hata tukisema Ruto must go. Kuna mtu alikuja kwa space hiyo siku akaniita, wewe kwanza ni project sijui nini. Nikamuuliza, okay, you are saying Ruto must go, what utatoa Ruto aje? Like utatoa Ruto aje wewe na kura yako moja? Because ukienda kwa ground Ruto must go is not a solution to Ruto must go. Ukienda kwa ground huko, these politicians wenye mnafikiria ni average politicians mtawatoa 2027 au wanachapa kazi. Unajua that 1% of work you think they are doing and unafikiria is not enough, to the people in the ground is actually enough. Na wakielekta watu back, watakuwa tu bado wamelemaza Kenya. Then when I tried to come with my solution, nikiwaambia the only reason to make Ruto a weak president is to focus on the National Assembly. People were like, no, Ruto ndio must go. Okay, asipoenda sasa tunaanzia wapi? Because tutakuwa na parliament yake na bado yeye hajaishia. Where do we start? We don't have contingency plan. Yako na contingency plan. Contingency plan yake number 1 mlimsurprise 25th June. Na akajua kumba watu wanaweza fanya hivi. Now I need to work on some things. Akaenda kufungua makisiagi huko Kisii. Do you think Kisii is not talking well about him? I was in Kisii last month. Kisii is actually sasa hii iko aligned. Wewe umeona nani Simbarati akipigana na Osoro? Sasa jua ground iko kama if Simbarati apigani na Osoro inamaanisha ODM na UDA au wako sawa. Watu wameshashiba. Sasa ground imeshiba. Umeona hizo watu walikuwa wakipigana? No. So hata tukisema Meg Whitman must go. Venye tu Riljua amewaambia Meg Whitman, Meg Whitblack, Meg whatever, with any color, indigo or anything. Hata akiishia, will it solve our problems? Nimesema hivyo nikaambiwa, me I'm not saying Meg Whitman is not the problem. I have not said she's not the problem. Just listen to understand. Don't listen to reply ama to type up kwa comment section ama kunijibu. I have not said she's not the problem. I'm just saying if she's the problem, akiishia sahi. Do you think mwenye atakuja Kenya ambassador wa US, so long as that embassy is still there, kuna United States embassy to Kenya, inamaanisha it is there to serve the interest of the United States of America, not of Kenya. So long as anyone who comes mwenye atakuwa hapo, venye risasi amewaambia Meg Whitman alimit Raila na bado alimit nani, but because we are too blind to focus sahi kwa election ya America, tuna feel hapana yeye amekuwa tu side ya Ruto. No, hata Raila angeshinda, hata Wajakoya, hata nani angekuwa tu hiyo side. Au wanaweitu kadi yao tu, bora hiyo joka kadi iko in play, they are good to go. So with or without Meg Whitman in Kenya, are we able to solve our own problems? We make bad choices at the ballot, then we come here and rant and say hapana, huyu ndiye ameleta hizi shida, hapana Mungu. If I'm God, like I told you guys, if I was God right now, I'd really be smiling and I'd be happy that Kenyans are going through what they're going through, because maybe this is the learning curve yenye tunahitaji. We need to suffer so much mpaka to learn that next time hapana tusivote mtu maybe because he is a thief, but he is our own thief, to vote mtu because he can deliver. If Meg Whitman is the problem and Ruto is not the problem, Ruto, if he's man enough, na nimesema hapa the other time, the last time I had the mic, if Ruto is the problem, if Meg Whitman is the problem, mnataka kusema Ruto wasn't man enough to ambia Meg Whitman, no, if finance bill is not good for my people, I don't want it. So it's not about Meg Whitman. Kama Ruto pia anashiba, he doesn't care. If he's kama mfuko yake inajazwa na vitu zenye pia anataka zinakuwa fulfilled, he doesn't care. So let us make good choices at the ballot so that we don't cry about other nations having interest in our country. If we make good choices at the ballot, we will never have these conversations that who is not working. Saa hii nikiwauliza wenye mumesema Trump ashinde, who is the full name of, what is the full name of Trump's deputy president? Hamujui? Nimelandia ndege imelamba hata ghafla nimelandia hapo.
Kowina, I have so much beef. With what you're saying. I have so much beef. And this is not fair because I'm not going to say anything. It's not fair.
Let's call Mr. Cool. Mr. Cool has been here for a while.
Mr. Cool and then differently able.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mr. Cool. It was supposed to be a party, but my goodness.
I'm sorry, guys. I slept on you. I just found myself having passed out. Was keeping up with the.
You needed it.
Yeah, but now I'm back to life. I still need some coffee, but we'll make it happen. So now I've been listening to, the sidelines, and when I came in, I had just wanted to interject a little bit because I came in when the house was on fire. And, everything was, going chaotic and all that. And I remembered when we had just had a while ago, we had had a really, really beautiful conversation with Lini Ngugi and a couple of, people who were here. And the discussion was really informative and it was organized and all that. And I wish that we actually make this forum, to be the same and all that, because even unwillingly, if we do not watch out, then we can easily, make the discussion to become, narcissistic in a way, because it basically turns, the conversation to either one person or two people, and in the process, monopolize the discussion. And that one just doesn't end there, but it basically disregards the thoughts and feelings of whatever people who are represented and people who might be having, the same views that hope to benefit from that conversation. So I just ask that, when a subject is ongoing or a discussion is going over a specific issue, how I would wish that we can circle around, hear other people and all that, and we can always circle around and come back to it. But if it has gone like 5 minutes on the same two people and all that, it just completely disregards others. That's one thing. The other one, I wouldn't want to, get rooted deeply into the raging discussion about, the ambassador representing the interests of the sending country. But personally, and this is, entirely subjective, I think as much as I believe that, an ambassador represents the interest of the sending country, I believe that they are also human beings. They land in a country and they relate with other people. They become close to other people. And in this regard, I would like to think politicians are, the main people who, surround them. Some of them become really close with politicians. They, become comfortable with each other. They talk about personal interests and all that. And as much as they push about the policies of the sending country, but also they pick up, business interests, personal business interests and all that. And in the process, you find that ambassadors or representatives from sending countries, end up representing countries differently. Take an example of Smith Hemston. I think he was, ambassador to Kenya, like towards the end of the 80s to about 93. I could be wrong. But he was really a vocal proponent of democracy, and he advocated for free elections for Kenya, in the light of what we just had. Yeah, Meg Whitman was, completely the opposite. Let's, go back to Michael Reneberger. He represented the interests of his sending country, which was the US. But he ended up actually even falling in love with some Kenyan woman. I can't remember too much of it, but I remember he started going out with a Kenyan woman. So we can't say that, going out with the Kenyan woman was one part of the interest of his sending country, but he had his, interests as well. And I think that he ruffled feathers quite a bit, with the leaders then. And I don't know what I remember much about him, but he did not worry much about upsetting the, Kenyan politicians with his demands that they clean up corruption. And then in the process, people he had long criticized and pushed, they started pushing back with demands that the then President Obama sent him back early. And how did this go? he was accused of actually going out of his way to portray Kenyan leaders as corrupt. And they say that he had run out of ideas. And it made Kenya America relationship not as cordial as it were. And then, if we reflect well, when Obama, whose father was from Kenya, had just entered the White House, as Kenyans, we had hoped that, his country would join into a special kind of relationship, with Kenya. But if anything, we saw that the US went pretty hard and stepped up its criticism for Kenya corruption, with Renebaka leading the way. And the furor erupted in December after WikiLeaks released, I think it was like January 2010, the capo in which the ambassador allegedly had said that President Mwai Kibaki and Prime Minister then, Raila Odinga, were among the political elites who had benefited from the, support of impunity and lack of accountability. And they hadn't made any significant steps, against the high level corruption, which was really, really rampant. And though Renebaka, refused to comment on the cables, he acknowledged that he had taken an activist approach to diplomacy. He openly supported the agenda of the Kenyan people to bring about the real change. And the people noticed and really supported him. So as Kenyans, we are not we are not stupid. When we have a representative that represents our interests, we know. And when we get rock ambassadors who advocate for their policies, but then on the other hand, push for their agendas and all that, or do not represent us correctly, we know. I think that we are smart enough to know that much. That's my submission. And I land.
I just happen to be very tired, but Mr. Cool, I was going to celebrate you, but I don't have the energy. Anyhow, that was a good submission. Yes, we were together earlier in my space. Before it dropped, we had such a good time. No excessive energy. There was no aggression. We disagreed and we learned a lot. But hey, we cannot be the same. It will make life very boring differently able. But Mr. Cool, it's good to see you. And yes, I'm celebrating Trump's win. And for me, I honestly don't care about the policies, foreign policy. It's time for Africa to rise. Differently able, please. Then Risasi, I'm not done with you.
Yes.
I'll be back after Kim.
Hi guys, long time no speak. Anyway, thanks for the space. Wanjiru, nothing, and the real Joe. So my take on the American election is how America will now push for if America will continue the same speed for this global agenda, mass vaccination, vaccinating everything, and GMO mosquitoes and all this stuff that they are doing, weather modification and all that. So for me, it's a global agenda. When will the World War III start? Do they want a World War III? What are they going to do with Israel, which is wiping out Gaza? So in a way, America has a position militarily superior and politically, and also influence in the media. Those who control America have decided that they'll use it to their benefit. So as a country, I don't know if people are even mentally ready for what's coming, because for those who survived the pandemic, it was not a pandemic, it was a pandemic. So those who survived it and those who understood what happened, the agenda for the world is very different. People think that that everything is normal. the things that are happening are not normal. And I fear that the average Kenyan has probably no idea what's happening or doesn't even care, couldn't even care less. And we're in a position whereby I would urge or I would want people to not even focus on the masses of the people, because what I've learned the years have been so-called fighting or working for people is that majority of the people you even fight for don't even appreciate that. That's why you see people like our politicians, they don't give a damn about the country, they don't give a damn about the people. Because if we were to really assess Kenyans brutally, and I'm all for having somebody tell me the brutal truth, then lie to me so that I can feel good. If we were to assess Kenyans brutally, Kenyans don't even deserve good leaders. You know, that's the harsh reality. That's the very harsh reality. I would even ask, guys, you who think you want good governance, proper whatever, look at a county, invade that county, take over that county, be like uni county, say right thinking, proper, whatever, and take all, like, colonize it. Like the way in 1947, the so-called Jews went to Israel or Palestine and colonized that place and decided in here to, that kind of thing. Ama the way the British came to and the Europeans came to Africa and came and colonized it. We say this is our place and say we control all the policies and all that. Then you kind of have a community. That being said, probably that's a stretch, but as a people, community-wise, we are very broken, That's why when sometimes people say, we must do this, we must do this, I even ask myself, who is this we? Because we are online, and frankly, I'm tired of online. By the as I'm almost quitting these online things, because it's like we're just giving every NIS and or NSA and whatever information. I'm going to go back to my roots, nikuwe mrasta, no technology, no nothing. Nikuwe tuko kwa msitu. Yani design, I mean, these phones we have, do you know how much they can do with this phone? Karina wants your email number. Do you know what they can do with that? I'm even wondering, why are we even here? Because if we have never met on the ground, had to meet on the ground, we're not moving anything on the ground. Tuna could have up just to do what we call word salads, this and that. Oh, sijui nini. Mtu anakuja na top point ya nguvu. Then we feel good. Words are words, guys. So in the end, I think guys should just form communities, strong communities. Communities strong enough that you can even educate, homeschool your children as a community. Provide your own food as a community. I encourage you to look at what some Americans are doing. They call themselves preppers. Like if World War III or some disaster strikes, there are people who are prepared. Like they are very prepared for a disaster. Most Kenyans are not. Ukenda place kama Iceland, Kayole, Dandora, all the people are living on top of each other. If an earthquake hit, a disaster hit, we'd be so messed up. There's a guy who used to go to Campo. He used to be the son of a military man. He told me, the way I look at, and that's in uni, and he told me, I'm so shocked that as a university, we don't do disaster training. We don't do disaster drills because anything can happen, Westgate, whatever, anything can happen. And we are so unprepared. I don't even know people how, I don't know. Do people know how so unprepared we are? We are sitting ducks for anything, I can tell you. The key here is that, like, get real. Stop this online kelele nini. Go down kwa ground vile, I don't know, is it Kowino amesema? Go down kwa ground. Get things moving on the ground. And in fact, I don't know if politically we can make change. I think the only thing you can do practically is, as much as possible, try to form communities of people who support each other, because as far as I can see, the global agenda is going to go on, whether Trump is in or is out, because there are people who finance Trump. If you look at those people who finance Trump, you'll understand what I'm saying. So it's going on. It's going on, maybe not as fast as it would with Akina Biden and Akina whoever, but it's still going to come. It's the system is the system, you know. So let's get practical. Me, I don't even want to talk about Ruto must go and all that. Me, I'm thinking of other things bigger than that, because at the end of the day, when you don't have food, the supply chain has broken down. If you guys know what happened in COVID, if you can learn from COVID peke yake, then maybe you understand what I'm talking about, because if things get real, especially the World War situation thing, if that gets real, hey bro, we are so unprepared. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Can we have Brenda? I think it's been a minute since we had a lady's voice.
I was going for Brenda. In fact, I almost begged differently able to allow. Yeah, Brenda, this testosterone is messing up the space. Kindly.
Thank you very much.
Nothing, you are discriminative against me. That's fine. Nakujua mianza kukuona sasa kwa umbali. It's okay. We Brenda go, and then I will deal with this Shiro and nothing from distance.
But you have not. Comino is the reason why I feel like the testosterone is too much. Brenda, please.
It's not my testosterone.
Is that a hint? Is that a hint to anything?
Heck no. Get out of town. Brenda, please.
I'm very happy today that Trump has won. First of all, he's going to bring back order in this NATO issue. Yeah, the war will at least end. I'm very, very happy. Yeah, he will bring peace at least in the world. That's why I was praying that he wins, because Europe is a real mess because of everything is happening with Ukraine. Because of Ukraine, that's why the oil price has gone up. Yeah, and we should just say, thank God he has won. Secondly, I'm also very happy because he was against Bill Gates. At least it's a milestone for all of us. And thirdly, I think as a NATO ally, Kenya, I'm 100% sure Trump is going to review everything Ruto has been doing with the Americans, especially the Haiti thing. So it's going to be a very, very different game from now on. It's either, I know he's going to ally with the Russians. When you just have to look a bigger picture of it. Yeah. The issue about he's going to stabilize. He's a businessman also. He knows how things work in the business world. So he's going to bring a lot of peace because he's a very neutral person. He will try and work with the Russians. He will try and work with the Chinese. He will try and work with people from Japan, with the Iran. He will try and work with the Israel. So it is a positive change. And for Kenya, I wish this evil man could not be too much engaged with the USA, because he had to. Me, I'm just happy. Let me leave it at that. Thank you.
Hi, Brenda. Even me, I'm happy. Hey, you asked Mr. Cool. We were so excited.
Here, nothing. Leo nitaongea Kikisii because I have to be given a chance to respond to this nonsense. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's like I feel like the Holy Spirit is speaking to me to respond to this thing. What in the world just happened in a few seconds? Okay, nothing. Go ahead, but please, after you give 3-4 people, give me a chance to respond to this. What in the world did Brenda just say?
I said it because I know what I am saying. And
I am here with you.
Thank you, Brenda.
My dear. I'm here with you.
Okay,
I'm here with you.
Brenda,
No
Brenda,
fight.
Brenda.
No fighting. No fighting.
Brenda, let me pick this up
No
for
fighting.
you.
I'm
Brenda,
really
let
happy he
me.
has won it, because the rules of the NATO is going to change. That is period. That's why I'm very happy. Because the time he was president, he wanted to change this thing of NATO. We could not be in all this shit in the moment the way we are in the world. That is the fact, whether you like it or not. It is not about Kenya. It is about everything, to stabilize everything in the world, to stabilize the prices, to stabilize the food security. Do you know what happens in the UK? Ukraine. Ukraine is the biggest producer of corns. And through this war, it has messed up everything. This thing had to happen so that we get a neutral person to end this. Do you know how much Europe spends on this war? Do you know how much people who stay in European pay taxes to finance this bullshit war? You don't know. That is why I'm glad he can come back and bring a little bit order in the world. Thank you.
Ndio nasema mmenifanya mpaka nimecall off kazi, nimecall off work kwa sababu ya nothing and Blender and Wanjiro. Sasa hapa, let's go head to head until we get the solution. I am here now. I'm not even taking time off.
Justice, a minute. I want to back up Brenda for a simple reason. There is actually a video on my TL where this Mzungu guy was explaining how we were hoodwinked about the non-NATO ally. He said, this is how, let me tell you, it's so disrespectful. But this is how you hoodwink African leader. You give them a charade. You promise them money that you eventually will not make. And he said that Kenya was supposed to get about 13 billion. They were given 2 billion US dollars to get boots into Haiti, and they're never going to see another coin. I was very, very upset to hear that. Another one was saying, oh, you know, these Africans, they are unable to manage themselves. It is time for us to go back and colonize them and bring order and development. You see, when you look around the continent, it's just poverty. And you're here telling us what? Anyway, justice, have your way. Injustice, have your way.
Ni sawa tu, Mungu anakuona. Yuko injustice. It's okay. But anyway, I
you said nonsense. No. How can I call you justice when you use words like nonsense?
Okay, please, I withdraw that. Honestly, did I use that in reference to Brenda? Is that what I did?
Imagine right after her.
Oh my gosh. Brenda. Like it. I apologize for that. I probably got emotional about the statements you made. But anyway, let's get back into the discussion, to be honest. For me, let's begin to, and again, nothing, thanks for the chance. Shiro, as always, real Joe, you know my stand on these things. My thinking is that I think we are giving so much credit, which at some point for me, I give it from a biased standpoint in terms of the trumpets are sounding Trump wins. And there are only 3 people I give congratulations to, and that's Shiro, nothing, and I don't know who else supports that thing. Nobody supports that except for you two, by the way, Shiro, if you don't know. So please, congratulations that you do that. And again, a win is a win. It doesn't matter to me. But then the implication in terms of the world is, I think, where Brenda is coming in by really dropping very heavy statements of what we think that is going to happen, that is going to review, several things. I think Brenda talked about Bill Gates. I think the one that I'm more interested is the issue of NATO. Brenda, and I would, if you don't mind later, if there's an opportunity for us, I think your argument about that review about NATO, I don't understand what exactly is. Of course, there is a pronouncement between the difference between Biden and Trump in terms of NATO agreement, where in the whole point of Trump doesn't think he supports NATO, to the point that he's more sides with either Russia, which is actually forming the alliance with, of course, North Korea and China. And I think this is a conversation that we have had before in terms of geopolitical and foreign in alignment. And I think Njeri, I don't know if she's here before, Njeri spoke to something that is immensely important about non-alignment policy about the Kenyan government. One of the things that we have done before is the non-alignment thing is something that we have to discuss very significantly, meaning that does it matter what the US, whether they're going to pull out of NATO or support the new Asian belt that is forming, where China is going to be the leader, bring in the Russia, bring in the North Korea, and then, of course, it's going to be the one that we go back into the SADC, in the South African movement. So my problem was that when Brenda talked about the issue of bringing the order in the NATO, how is Trump bringing the order in the NATO when he's talking about pulling out? That's number one. And then the review of what Ruto has been doing, of course, that's neither here nor there. Of course, no American government, whether Republican or Democrat, gets so much concerned about Kenyan politics. This is the least of their concern, other than using us to combat their terrorism in what they call terrorism in Somalia, which, by the way, we think they need to get out of it. And I think many experts have talked about it. Kawanja talks about it. Professor Kawanja talks about it. They need to leave us alone about this. Other than them asking us to be involved in the Al-Shabaab and other things that they are framed, it's a conversation that we have had for for a long time. I think one of the elected leaders who has a very interesting concept, and I think I find is a very deeper argument, is Farah Maalim, does speak heavily. Of course, I regret for the comment he made about GNC. Please don't crucify me about what he talked about, that if he was a president, he would eliminate the 5,000 GNCs. That's different. But his philosophical argument about our strategic position in relation to US and Al-Shabaab is one that honestly will align with you as a scholar. So that, as it may, my point is the change of US government or governance, it will not even impact you even a bit. Then what do I submit to?
Can I
Okay.
Can I stop you from there?
Yeah.
It is going to impact me directly, very directly. the change of with Trump is going to impact me directly on the way I'm going to pay my future taxes. Yeah.
Okay. So,
yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead about that. Go ahead about that.
Yes, because this European Union, they are fighting because they have interest in Ukraine. That is the deeper shit of this war. Yeah. So
no, stick to the taxes, my dear.
Yeah. That is why I want to stick to the taxes. Yeah. I don't want to disclose which country I'm staying in, but through this war, we are paying hell of taxes, which can be used for sensible things in my country, whatever country I'm coming from.
Which war? Which war?
Please. This Ukraine war.
The Ukraine war. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. It is affecting a lot of things, the country I'm staying in. So it is.
So in the country you're staying in,
yes,
the Ukraine war has increased your taxes.
It has made where I'm staying, we are going in minus because of this war. And everyone is glad that this man has come because no one wants this war. And that's why we are happy. And through that, it is going through this Ukraine war. It is through this war that the oil prices have gone very high. And when it stops, things are going to regulate. The prices will be a little bit stable. It is going to affect everyone, even people who are staying in Kenya. It is through this war that Russia pulled off their pipeline from some countries, from some NATO countries, from some NATO people. So it is going to affect each and every individual.
Just say Germany and France.
It is going to affect everyone.
Nothing. Can you please? Then
yeah. So we are happy when
it's muted.
When he wins. It's going to stabilize a lot of prices, and it's going to make some of us, at least the tax issues, we have some money for our future generation because of this war, which is nonsense. Thank you.
Can I land? Am I okay? Nothing. Shiro.
Let me rebuttal for Brenda. First of all, what is the need for any war around the world? And that's why young generation people have to rise up, because we are tired of those kind of things. That's number one. Number two, I was very happy when I heard Trump talk about pulling out of NATO. He said, we pump in a lot of money that we could use elsewhere. We can invest that money on other projects in the US instead of putting it to if you remember, it was Russia and China that leaked the dossier of the NATO allies deciding to attack Addis because of that particular dam. So NATO is not for any good in the world. It's of absolute zero good. And for them, one way of looking at it is that they can bulldoze their way into our country, destroy and get out. What wars of mass destruction were found in Iraq? The country, we can name the countries they have destroyed. What they did with Libya, it's because Gaddafi had no international loan, had developed his country, his people had free education, even if you studied abroad, got married, whatever it is, and he was determined to give them free homes. He said his mother will get a house if the last of Libyan got a home. And then NATO made a decision to invade Libya. So NATO is of absolute no good to the world. So I support Trump by saying he wants to pull out. We don't need another war. We've seen enough of that. It's the end. So you can land with your remarks. But yes, I support
nothing. Let me say this. And this is probably, I get castigated because I say this and everybody thinks that, oh, I'm pro, US, going to wage wars in the world and everything. And thank you, Brenda, for sharing your thoughts. But I kind of have a disagreement that we can have probably a different day Today is for me to celebrate the trumpets, which I'm very bitter that the Trump people won. Oh gosh, I feel terrible about it. But the answer is that the whole argument. Sorry. Okay. What happened? So, my whole point, I think, is that Trump has never talked about pulling out of NATO. He has talked about having NATO contributed their fair share. Please, we have to be very careful about our argument in terms of what these are US policies. Has nothing. Trump can't walk in. Nobody can walk in and just pull out of NATO. Trump has never talked about pulling out of NATO. He said that, everybody needs to contribute. We cannot have the only US contributing more than everybody else. So let's be very careful about that argument so that we don't mislead, our listeners and everybody that's paying attention. So that's number one. So anybody who's deluded that US is pulling out of NATO, please, let's have a coffee, session, and then we can talk. The second point is that the gentleman earlier who talked about that during the President Obama, which probably I respect, I think I don't name somebody and then I mislead people, that is the one who killed an African independent president. That was, I think, in reference to Muammar Gaddafi, and then they talked about Obama. That operation was led by NATO. Prove me wrong, and I'll take my pride and say that, wait a minute, how did the US do it? So please come up and talk about it. We have a letter that was written by Muammar Gaddafi, and it was, of course, bad English and everything, and it's been published many times, and it was asking NATO. The operation was led by, actually, France was the leader during that NATO operation in Libya. So why everybody thought that the US was the leader on that, is the US killed Muammar Gaddafi? It's completely erroneous. I wish that we got to a point whereby we table things here, and I like where I think was Shiro was asking can we table facts?
Just to contribute, Obama regretted his decision on Gaddafi. He said that the one thing he regretted is what he did to Gaddafi.
Never. No. Now you just made an erroneous mistake. He said, regret that ever not convinced NATO. NATO was leading the operation. Differently abled. NATO was leading the operation. US never led the operation. Let's be clear. US never led the operation.
Justice, just calm down. You see,
and then can I clarify something else different able before you make you make your next statement? People tell other people in this statement that, don't be emotional. Police never ever tell someone like that. That's nonsensical. You have to be both emotional and logical. Emotional and logical can be together.
We've heard so much of you telling us about nonsensical. Allow us to give intergen or something like that, because I don't mind someone having their say, but I'm a bit sensitive to language, and especially when it's consistent in a particular direction, and when it sounds like the person using this language is someone who should be respecting. Because I tell you for a fact, if a young person decides to take you on that road, you'll not like it. So it's just important to respect yourself. And I'm not here to tell you what to do. You are free will to do it. But for now, I think I want to hear from Kim 001. But because
Indigen.
Take it up and then Kim.
All right. Thanks for the space. Thanks for the opportunity, guys. I just wanted to chime in and say the way I see things, and having had a Trump presidency, 4 years of him being president, we saw his foreign policy. It was non-interventionist. So that having been a precedent, we can again believe him when he says, when he comes in, and he's done several interviews where he's said he wants peace in Israel and Palestine. He wants peace with the Russians, so he's going to push for diplomacy. The current administration has been pushing for war because it's beholden to the military industrial complex and all the investors and the people who want that business aspect of it. And the president-elect's perspective is the money and all those and all opportunities should be brought to the states, and the money spent within the states. If you want to invest, if you're a big corporation, get that money here. Let everything happen here as opposed to out there. So I think that's going to have a big impact on everybody around the world. I think it's misguided to think other people won't feel the direction of foreign policy that the US takes. So that's a very big thing. And with the war, like somebody was talking about the cost in Europe, of course, they felt the energy cost. It's been crazy. And that has just led to inflation, and it has eaten into people's incomes. So again, everybody in Europe on the ground are going to feel it. But what we've seen, and the big picture here is what's important, is that there's a movement going on around the world where global financial corporations have captured countries through the World Economic Forum. For example, there's the other thing that they call the Group of 300, but the World Economic Forum. They have published all their information on their website, so this is not a conspiracy theory. They have all these companies that are part of their partners, one of the biggest ones being BlackRock, which, as we know, between BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, they own all other major blue chips around the world. They clearly state that their job is to penetrate governments and propagate their agenda of global governance. Global governance by a group of unelected people. So all these policies you guys are seeing happening in Kenya, in agriculture, in food production, and all that, those are policies that are coming out of those globalists. And the current US administration has been either beholden to them or for whatever reason supporting that. So that's a very important thing to understand. Now, the president-elect has been against that. He's gone to Davos. He's told them to their face. He's said, no, we want to be able to have our own individual sovereignty and freedoms in the US, and we want to let everybody else have their sovereignty. So that's a big thing. And we have a precedent of that. The world experienced the most peaceful time ever during Trump's 4 years. He did not start a new war, yet they were pushing him to start new wars. And that's one of the reasons he became a one-term president at that time, like all the other previous 3 one-term presidents from Ford to, was it Nixon or somebody, and was it Jimmy Carter or somebody? So if you don't kowtow to what the big corporations and the military-industrial complex want, they undermine you. So I think it is misadvised to believe that this is not going to have an impact. Kenyans are going to have an impact because the non-interventionist means the ambassador that's going to be put there will not be given the brief that this other one was given. All those laws being passed in Kenya have been passed in the UK, Australia, Canada. All that infringement on private property ownership, all that all those punitive laws being pushed against farmers. It's a World Economic Forum. They're hiding them under climate action. It's not really climate action. You know, the small farmer is not polluting the air and polluting the waters like the big farm corporations. But because those are the ones that want to capture all the food supply and everything, they're doing that. It's happening globally. So again, it's really short-sighted to think it's a Ruto thing. Why do I agree with those who say Meg needs to go? Meg needs to go because she was appointed specifically, and she said it. Look at the interview she gave with Jeff Koinange. She said the president, when he was president-elect, the current president, called her and said, hey, I got a big job for you. And at the same time, the US State Department issued a statement saying they were moving their policy emphasis from Middle East to Africa, with Kenya being their pivotal launching point. So all these things are on the State Department website. And that's why there's been this concerted effort to focus on Kenya. UNFP relocating a quarter of their staff to Nairobi, and them saying that they want to bring their services closest to the people that need them. and their alignment with people like Bill Gates. And you've seen the Gates Foundation has been given special privileges and immunities. And why would an NGO need immunities? What is it that they need to do that they need to have an immunities like you would grant a state where they have an immunity for at least from an embassy point of view, where it's like a sovereign state in there. So we have to look at the big picture and follow the actual facts on the ground. And the actual facts on the ground is that the foreign policy of the incoming president are opposite of the foreign policies of the previous, the current administration, which was aligned with the globalists at Davos. That's a big picture distinction. So hopefully we can now push back on the bad agricultural laws, and the Kenya Kwanza won't have the backing of the US to continue with that. They'll simply be disinterested. It's not their project. They're not interested in those things. The fake SDGs and all that kind of stuff, they're not interested in that. The whole thing of wanting to force people with the vaccines and all that, they're not interested in that. It's not their agenda. So again, people will have space to have sovereign sort of space to determine, nations to determine their own chart their own course, and not have to take it by force with these people who are currently funding this administration. That's why, even though people have been killed and everything, have you seen the US Embassy say anything? Have you seen any of the Western embassies say anything? And the new UK Prime Minister, what did he say in a BBC interview? He said he's going to put Davos first, the World Economic Forum first, and then UK second. So we do know that leadership matters. I yield. Thank you for this opportunity.
Wow. Oh, you said it's indigent.
Yeah.
Brilliant submission.
Indigenous, from an indigenous person.
I salute you. I could listen to you all day. I thank you for that brilliant subject. I'm telling you, but I'm not being biased. I just love challenge and learning from people, and sometimes to just be aligned to people who look at life from a different perspective. Kim 001, engineer, you have to forgive me. This friendship, I'm really sorry. Thank you for never complaining. The mic is yours.
Before Kim, let me give Risasi to rebuttal. I think Risasi has something in regards to what in that name is difficult. Said just the previous speaker. If you allow me, nothing.
Yeah, shukran. Nafanya tu like 1 minute.
Sure.
I agree with what indigenous amesema, most of it. The only thing that I disagree with is I keep bring up the point of globalization, and this is why I always find big problem with people throwing out these words like population agenda, vaccination, and all those. One thing yenye amesema ni if vile Trump amekuwa elected, there's going to be a new ambassador and the policy is going to change, and this is exactly what we have been saying here. If that policy is changing because Americans wamesema. It's not that they're changing the policy so that it's idea wa Kenya. No, they're advancing the policy that benefits America. So if the American administration is benefiting from the policy, it is for Americans, not for Kenyans. And then two, mambo na globalization, I think that is something that maybe it's for different space, but it's really, really hurting when I hear people talking about CG population change, CG vaccination. Well, we know that the science for these things exist, and I don't believe that a country that has got full-time surveillance on you, a country that can know where you are at any time, the country that where your currency you depend on, the country that can get you anytime you want, will be interested in having a poison in a painkiller to kill you. It doesn't have to do that. There's so many ways to finish. I don't believe in nonsense here, globalization and whatever.
Risasi, listen to me. The point is not to kill you, but to make you sick for a long time so they can make money of you.
Okay. Sure. I'm open to that. And then there's something in Yemulikat justice, and justice was actually right. I just wanted to nini at that time because there's always a misconception about US and Gaddafi. US time ilikuwa inaingia Libya, it was all to make sure that the airspace for Libya and the Northern Africa is well protected, and they had that mandate between, I think, January to March, and then they handed over the operation to NATO. So kazi ya US, it was to advance the UN Security Council resolution to make sure that Nini are protected, the people who are against Gaddafi are protected. And then the command for that was transferred to French and the Canadian forces. So if there's anybody you should be blaming for Gaddafi's death, need the French and the Canadians. So I think Mulikat justice for that. That is what I wanted to Nini.
Thank you, Risasi. And also maybe to add on that point, also we need to understand that the issue regarding the Nord Stream, the blowing of the Nord Stream gas, the investigation pulls the issue towards Ukraine. But also, as we blame the war of the war between Ukraine and Russia towards the side of America, why don't you blame Russia for invading a sovereign nation? Because that nation should not make an independent decision when it wants to join another. When it wanted to join NATO, because the main contention is Ukraine trying to join NATO. That is why Russia was rattled and invaded Ukraine, and it has not invaded Ukraine once. Invaded even Georgia. So these are issues that can be debated all day long. At the end of the day, I mean, there are balances that needs to be kept in this kind of issues. Also the issue that Trump will withdraw from NATO, that is wrong. Trump can never even withdraw from NATO. That is very wrong. It can never withdraw from NATO. But Trump has been pushing for NATO allies to be able to contribute 2% of their GDP as is required. Most of them don't, and Trump felt like it is a burden for countries that contribute 2% of their GDP towards their military equipment and things like that. And Trump actually has been pushing for that. And you remember Trump even making a very strange statement saying that if Russia invades you, I will not protect you until you start spending 2% of your GDP. Trump said that. But also, in terms of Israel, you remember on 13th October, when Trump was asked about Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu, what did he say? He said, I talked to him 2 days ago. It was good. And he said even Netanyahu visited him and his wife. Netanyahu and his wife visited him at his home, and it was a very good meeting. That is what Trump said. So these things we need to analyze them deeper. It doesn't, and I'm not supporting. I said even when I started in the space, I don't support Biden in any way. But we need to put all the facts on the table, all gloves off. Anyway, Kim 001, the mic was yours, yes.
Hey, before Kim.
Hello everyone. I really hope I'm audible.
Kim, just like a minute. Sorry. The little Joe,
am I audible?
You're very audible. Oh God, you're audible, Kim. I just wanted to ask you. You say you don't support.
Am I audible?
I can hear you.
Yeah, Kim, you are audible, but I think Wanjiru is speaking, so maybe just a minute, then you gave you the mic.
No. I mean, I had a question for Real Joe, but nitamuuliza nyuma ya hema. So Kim 100,001, just continue. Real Joe mwambie aendelee. I'll ask you kwa nyuma ya hema, so don't worry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kim, you can just continue. Wanjiru has dropped. She will ask me behind the tent. Okay, Kim, you can continue.
For some reason I couldn't hear Wanjiru. Sijui mbona inakuanga hivi. But yeah. So for those who can hear me, akina Nothing, Real Joe and the others, thank you very much. Oh, Wanjiru can hear me. Nimeona emoji yake. Now I am here to tell everybody who is celebrating the victory of Trump, you have the right to be. Every right, actually. So let us not try to fall into this cocoon of trying to look cool by saying those policies of America don't really affect us. It doesn't matter whether it was Trump or Kamala Harris. I tell you, the person who is who is on top of the world, that is the president of the US, that election matters more than the election in Kenya to me, because you come to realize we are a third world country. We've not been given any autonomy in the financial sector by the global cabal. We've always been held by them. They've always influenced our policies. So how much those policies affect us, it's as good as the person who is really seated on that seat there in the White House. Now, I would not really dwell a lot on that economic factor, but let me go to that social policy and how it affects us. You remember Bill Gates is one of those people who are pro depopulation, pro GMO, pro climate change, or pro all those stuff. And they've really learned to conjure those things to bring very, very funny solutions that are really even infringing on human rights. Even this thing of Bill Gates saying we should be doing a lot of family planning, having just one kid or two kids. I remember the biggest opponent of that was Elon Musk. He was very open about it, and he actually went ahead to say that they are trying to meddle with what you call the family units, and he was totally against it. He really campaigned on his X platform for people to have kids, saying that there are enough resources to support the ever burgeoning population of this world. Now, this is where Elon Musk went all in. He went ahead to have kids, and if you look at the kids, ni kama stairs, hawajaachana na mbali. So he was like the man wa kusema na kutenda. He led by example. He has like a few kids here and there. So he's really trying to show us you don't have really to follow these globalists. You can do you. You can always do you. And now, by the fact that you have Elon Musk close to that seat of power, it means in that social policy which they use to do social engineering, you might not have won fully, but we have the pause button on those very funny things like GMO and the population agenda. That is a button even Ruto himself cannot press, really. So I don't know why we have to keep saying here that it's not a win for the world. It really is. It really is. He'll do things that even your most powerful man here in this country could not influence. Because at the end of the day, we remain to be a third world country, and they remain to be the rulers of this world. So it is very much in order. I was really rooting for that man, because anything that affects or shakes the confidence of Must Go, we will save on a few foreign trips, because I don't expect him to go visiting the US every now and then like it used to happen with that Kamala person. So yeah, you'll save a few coins here and there. And now you come to realize, if those people in the US, especially that state of Minnesota, those people who've elected a Kenyan to the House of Commoners, if they are really to push an agenda in the US with the current regime that is incoming, those they elect, the president and the vice president elect in power, I would tell you it would have a much more bigger impact, because all the pressures would be on Must Go. The other person was really playing to the tune of this Meg Whiteman person. So they would just assume everybody, and then the heat would not be felt. But I can tell you right now, if you try, do that, and then attach any other thing to something like the depopulation agenda. So it's just wake up today and say, in Kenya, let us make these agricultural bills trend, because for one, GMOs are not good. They've been banned in Europe. And then also say, whatever they are doing here, they are using you like lab rats. They are playing into the depopulation agenda and make a lot of noise on that Twitter. And the good thing is, Must Go cannot switch off Twitter, because Elon Musk is close to the seat of power, and you cannot mess with that. So whoever was taking that bill that Twitter is being used to, what do you call it, to incite people, I think it was Gloria or Robo or somebody, I dare them not to take that bill at the Senate. They cannot even dare pass that thing. That is how much that election matters. So we are very sure we'll be having these spaces for the next 4 years, whether they like it or not. So we have a platform to campaign for our own candidates come 2027, a platform they cannot meddle with. We also have Starlink. They'll do nothing about it. They'll do nothing about it. Now, We can make Safaricom pay for these small things they've been doing that have been going unnoticed, and they've been playing there that they are the market leader, and so they are too big to fail. Nothing can happen to them. Right now, they'll do nothing about Starlink. Starlink will expand as much as our financial capabilities allows us to use it in this country, and there is nothing that damn green company will do about it. That is how much that election matters. So, to those proponents of you need to elect good leaders, no. No matter how good a leader you elect, including Maraga, if the powers that be, the globalists, are really to start twisting you, they really have everything needed to twist such a government, because it's either they play to their tune, or they'll crash the economic power, and then they'll make them come begging on their knees. So it is not really about us, it is about them. And today we won, the world won. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
Shiro,
Thank you, Tim.
Shiro,
Thank you, Tim.
and Joe, let me say this. What's going to happen in the coming hours, probably in the few hours, and I think that's what I need to clarify to a gentleman that spoke earlier. The answer is that Kamala Harris has to call the president-elect Donald Trump, congratulate him, and then she will, of course, be implored by both President Obama, President Clinton, and of course Hillary, and all that. She will give us a concession speech, and then President-elect will come and clarify that, yes, Kamala Harris has called me and given me a gracious congratulations for the win. And after that, she would give a speech to accept that he has won after he has been called. That is democracy transition. And then from there, the transition begins. This thing is that as much as I feel bad about us losing, I think we have to agree that democracy has to prevail. The answer is yes. Those, including Shiro and whatever, nothing that are for Trump winning, you have won. But the process has to prevail. The process is simple. The people that are behind Kamala Harris will tell her, sorry, we did the best we could. We ran the race. We didn't win. It's not that anything went wrong. It's because we put our best, but the nation chose somebody else. And therefore, call the person who has won, and that's Donald Trump, and congratulate him. And then, when Trump comes, of course, and then of course Kamala comes in and gives a concession speech, and then after that, Trump comes in and says that Kamala called me, congratulated me for this. Let's unite the country, and the country continues. I'm telling you, by the time we were closing the polls, we knew who is winning. It was painful, but the answer is Donald Trump has won this thing. The people that were supporting him, and that is many people in this space today, and that's why we have trumpets are sounding Trump wins, they won. So as much as we go here back and forth and think who is bad and everything, it changes nothing. The answer is that as we speak right now, what matters is Trump has won fair and square. I don't think we can go into this conversation of trying to make it look like where we were in 2020, where the Trump people were making it look like, oh, we didn't win. The answer from our side is that no, Trump has won. The numbers speak for themselves. Congratulations. We live fight for another day. And that's how we move forward, because and Trump's win for this season is even more painful, because it looks like he's gonna take the presidency, it's gonna take the House, gonna take the Senate, and guess what? That's it.
Joe, a bit justice.
Tim, before you come in, Okay, thank you. Kim, before you come in, Justice, I'm really, I'm seeing the difficulty of you saying the loss because you supported Harris. We stand with you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You've lost. Next time you will win. Don't worry. American elections are very much contested. So even Trump was a one-term president, and he's not going for a second term. So don't worry. But I agree with you on one thing, and this is why I interjected. And Kim, I'll just give you time to speak. I agree with you on one thing, and this is why I always say, and I'll repeat what I said in 2022 when Ruto took over. I said, my friends and my brothers and sisters who celebrated, some of them, my friends, called me and told me, we've won this thing, now let us do the work. I told them, this history will judge you based on this. And same thing, I mean, it's all about waiting and see what comes out of this Trump administration. Same thing I told the people who voted William Ruto. We will see what comes out of William Ruto administration. And 2 years down the line, they are calling me, telling me, Ruto must go. Where are we not injecting today? Bona how was space leo? Ama umenunuliwa, ama you're part of NIS. That's what you have to go through. So in the same breath, as I and Justice, I'm not supporting you in any way. I will not support. I did not support the name Kamala Harris, and I don't support Trump as well. I don't care about who becomes the president. And this is where I know someone like Kim will want to bash me. I don't. I care about so much of who becomes Kenyan president and American president. But anyway, I stand with you. I feel the voice.
The case of Kenya is different. It's about us doubting if Ruto really won. In this case, to be honest, real Joe, I was about to call you Joe Biden. Real Joe, I have to speak with confidence that yes, I was on this side. We fought the best we could. But let me tell you this, the voters chose Donald Trump, period. In this case, if anybody comes in saying that anything was rigged or we never know, Donald Trump was chosen by the American people. Period.
Thank you. Let me bring in Kim. Then let me bring in Kim. Kim, you'll speak. Then I think Indigenous, your hand went first before Brenda. So I think I'll give Kim. Then Indi Jina Ningum. Then Brenda. Yeah, in that order. Thank you.
Now, I'm gonna say this with all my chest. One symptom of a person who not really overcome the feeling of a loss is really keep that thing where you have to keep talking about the same thing. So there is, I don't know, how do I put this? I mean, there is nothing honorable about losing. Losing is losing, so you just eat your L and move forward. Those proponents of Harris also, so that we don't take a lot of time discussing procedure. Harris is gonna do this, do that. No, you're not Harris. She doesn't have to congratulate Trump, and nothing in the world will happen. Trump will still be the president-elect, so we can skip all that thing. Now, I am more concerned about how is Trump's win a positive for me. Really, it is all I look for, because I don't care what they do. It is how I can use that to my advantage. For now, you have our own must go. He did a congratulatory message somewhere. Now, there was a thing Elon alifanya hapo kwa community notes, especially at the height of the campaigns, where if the Democrats posted something and a community note went against that, it would be the algorithm itself would really hype that thing so that it would be very visible, and then the effect of the initial post would be nullified. If you go below there, wale watu wa community notes hapo kwa hiyo post ya must go, mweke community note hapo, sijui amesema ameongelea on behalf of me and the people of Kenya. Just somebody aseme hata atuongelelei sisi, and then sisi kama watu wa create hizo community notes, we do our thing. I can tell you it would have a lot of effect just to test how are these small wins really helping us. So you can really do that. Watu wa community notes watest tu, muone venye mahali inaweza fika, so that you know these small wins really matter to us. So I'll beg to drop to the listeners panel.
But Kim, can I respond to you something?
Go on.
Please, Justice, respond through the co-host. Acha co-host akupe mic. Sawa. Thank you. Let me give Brenda the mic. Not Brenda. Let me give Indigenous the mic. Then I'll give Brenda. Then Justice, I'll come back to you so that you can respond. Yeah.
All right, thanks again. Hey, this is directly to Justice, or I think there was somebody who talked about not believing the whole thing about globalists and all that. I think that's the most important thing we need to be looking at. And that's the thing Americans have been feeling. And that's when they realized that the current administration was not putting policies for Americans. It was putting policies for other entities. And that's why this election has gone the way it has gone. So don't say, oh, it's just going to be business as usual. America must continue serving its interests. Yes, and that's what the American people want. And what this administration has been doing, aligning with the people in Davos, is not what the Americans wanted. They're wiping out small farms here in America. They're wiping out small farms in UK. They're wiping out small farms in Australia. And it is not in the interest of any of those people. And now local politicians, people in Congress and all that will have to now be aware that the people have spoken. If you are aligning with the globalists at Davos, they say it. There's videos out there. I challenge you to just Google Yuval Harari, who is one of the principal advisor at the World Economic Forum. And he gave an interview where he said, Trump must be stopped at all costs. He said, in his words, if Trump comes in, he will completely kill the global government, one world government agenda, in his own words. And he said he doesn't like the fact that Trump believes there's a dichotomy between nationalism and having global ideals. So we have seen who has been rattled, and they are out there speaking it. You know, the George Soros of this world, people who are sponsoring the illegal immigration into countries and all that. You know, look at Kenyans right now starting to feel the concern they're having about what's going on in Eastleigh. Well, of course, we have our own Kenyan Somalis who are law-abiding citizens and everything. But now there's people who are concerned that Somalis from Somalia have infiltrated, bought citizenship or bought national IDs, and now they're singing their national anthem in Italy and raising their flag. So you can imagine how local people are feeling there. That kind of stuff affects politics. And that's what the Western European countries have been feeling, the immigration things, and that's what people have felt in the US. For example, the Black community in the US, where they've been neglected, but these people who crossed the border just like that, uninspected, get given a red carpet, get bussed, get flown, get put up in hotels. They get given accommodation in community centers. And if you've seen YouTube videos lately, there are Americans who are on the streets homeless because they couldn't make the rent, because the rent went up, because for whatever reason, property taxes went up, property insurance went up. And so when people can't afford, or the mortgage and all that, you put a house on the market, it's bought immediately by a company called Blackstone. You check how the ownership goes, it ends up being owned by Vanguard and State Street and BlackRock. And these are the people who told you will own nothing and you will be happy. These laws of changing freehold land into leasehold are in Australia, they are everywhere. So again, this is an administration, the current one, that was not serving the local people in the states. So that's why it's important to understand the role of an administration's foreign policy. So the incoming government has a foreign policy of
Land in a minute, please. Land in a minute. Just land in a minute.
Sure, thanks. Yeah. So anyway, I was just saying. So to wrap it up. So what the difference people are going to feel based on this election is that you will have less pressure for people coming after your land, people coming after your food systems, people coming after the social upbringing of your children and all that. You know, the whole gender ideology and all that kind of stuff. Those are the impacts people are going to feel because the incoming administration does not support that, while the other one supported it, and it was not a US policy, it was a foreign policy from the globalists. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I think, Justice, you have been adversely mentioned. Brenda, just allow me 1 minute. Justice, and 1 minute. I'm giving you 1 minute to respond.
I'll go to that, and indeed, I'll probably address you on your final statement about probably you loosely using the word freehold land and leasehold land. I don't know honestly how you injected that into the immigration system in the US. Please, that's something that completely caught me off guard because it has absolutely no place in
No,
the
that was not
way
the
that
immigration system. Sorry to interrupt. That was about the
because I
globalists.
think it came up and I was like trying to place it somewhere, and I was like, okay, what does have to do anything? So so we take that out. Okay, then I can respond. They can respond because I thought you mentioned that, and I was like, what does that have to do with anything we are dealing with right now? So anyway, my suggestion is this, and again, without going into in obviously I'm a resident of and I don't know what resident you are. I'm a resident of Columbus, Ohio, second based place for especially our Somali immigrants. Of course, St. Paul's being the first one, Columbus the second, and of course Oklahoma the third. There's a reason why I'm giving that background so that you can understand that my understanding of the support that we have given to our immigration and of course refugee communities, and why we thought that indeed the Harris administration was doing better. But this is a thing of the past, so it doesn't mean anything. The reason as to why we have a challenge here is that our democracy is because it was based on feeling that the people that we have in this country, whether it's especially from Africa, there's no Somali who comes to the US illegally. I just have to be very clear to that because there's never been, you cannot board a plane illegally. You have to have a certain legal visa to come to the US. So we were defenders of the people that came to this country legally and then being processed through and through. I think that's one thing that we wanted to be very clear on. So the point I was trying to be very clear on is the people who completely fail to understand that our advocacy was not merely based on the current election season, but what does that portend to the future of the diversity or diversification of the American system? One gentleman here, and I wish he was here, he spoke that, Trump was defending the indigenous. Now, it gave me a little bit of a headache because then the only person who has gone to the indigenous communities is Joe Biden, and the only person who has ever nominated people into his cabinet of the indigenous is Joe Biden. And indigenous, we were talking about the Native Americans. Nobody in the history of the American government, and of course, indigenous and other folks here can share with me. So when we share casually about what we understand about the American system and everything, and why we got into this place, of course, we've been outfoxed. I don't disagree with that. But the point I'm trying to make is that yes, congratulations to the Trump winners. But in the long run, to whose benefit did we get here? Mine is simple, that we need to ask ourselves, is America a country of immigrants, and how do we diversify? What is our place as the Kenyan population? Right now, the path, real Joe, and we can talk on the side. Our path now remains through education and the J visas, the F1 visas for sure, the J visas about exchange programs and all that. Because the other path, of course, kuna is a lottery, these are not guaranteed. But so right now we need to look for a new path through which we can make a difference in this system. And for me, that's my advocacy. My advocacy right now is about how then do we have room for the American system. Another gentleman told me that, oh, we don't need to bring our people to the US. Please, thank you. I want to have an opportunity. If you can have a chance to study, if you want to go back, fine. If you want to stay, yes, but have an opportunity to explore your opportunities elsewhere. Thank you so much. And that will be my contribution. I just want to be clear with Indigenous that, yes, it was never that we never fought for our people from Africa. We fought for our people from Africa, but it didn't go very well during the elections.
Thank you, Justice. Thank you. Let me bring in Brenda is dropping. But okay, Brenda, you can request the mic again as Brenda wanted to give you the mic. But as I do that, Justice, I hear you. I understand your concern and I understand where you are coming from. I hear you a lot. And I, of course, I've given varied opinions on this issue. And you've talked about, and I agree with you about Biden administration bringing in indigenous people into his administration and things like that. And it is even a fact that during Trump's reign, the one that started in 2016, that there was a lot of racial discrimination in that administration. That is a fact. And I also agree with a lot of people that talk about the issue of globalists. Also, the person who touched on the matters, I think was it climate change or something? Maybe I might have not gotten that well. But Trump has been on record calling the climate change issue an hoax. And that is in line with some people who believe, most of those people who are talking about the globalist idea in terms of climate change and trying to control cows, things like that, planting and things like that, is in line with that. And we know what Trump feels about Bill Gates. This is something that has been clear. We can go back to 2020 when we had, remember the issue between Bill Gates and Trump and the WHO in terms of COVID-19. So those are there, and I'm well aware that Trump and Bill Gates don't share the same cup of tea, and it goes in line with the mentality of trying to limit the globalist agenda. And I agree with those people who are thinking that way. But as I like to say, he's the president. We are here to see what he's going to do. So Brenda, let me give you the mic. I see there's a burning issue in your end.
Yes, thank you very much. For me, I just got very concerned when Harris said about these abortion policies. You know, those are globalist agendas. And for me, as a conservative person, a Catholic, that is what cost her a lot in this issue, in this swing issue. So, and then there's somebody who was talking about immigration. Don't just think that Trump is the one who is going to cut down the immigrations. In Europe, it's happening. Ruto was there I think in Germany, was he there? And he signed an agreement. Yeah. Can you imagine, for example, that's why I'm very happy that Trump has won. Imagine somebody from the Ukraine who has never worked, enters in an European country, he has never paid taxes, and he gets a house. He can stay better than somebody who has worked in that country for over 60 years. He can drive now a Mercedes-Benz. That is how this win on the ground in Europe is very big. Because we cannot see the future of our children just being ruined because of selfish agendas. And this selfish agenda is through the Ukraine wanted really to become a NATO land. I'm sorry to say like that. And NATO wanted to help. And I understand very well very nicely Trump, that if they want the NATO people to engage in this war, they have to contribute equally. Can you imagine some countries and NATO allies where the US is giving a certain but bigger percent, Europe is some countries in Europe, like for example, let me give an example, the European Union. The French contribute heavily, the Germans contribute heavily, and the rest, they're like Poland, they're just eating on it. So I'm very happy that Trump has won, irrespectively. Even Olaf Scholz is gonna lose very big. That is now open. No one wants him in this country because of this agenda. And I'm very happy this man is going to be judged in the Netherlands, so that because many people have died because of this COVID issue. So it is a win to all of us. The moment this man gets into power, everything is going to be at least stable. And I thank God for that. Thank you.
How does Trump's win change any policy in Europe?
It changes a lot of policies in Europe. A lot of policies. So many. It includes just the taxation issue. Do you know what the hell some people pay in Europe? They pay almost 48% of their taxes. And the tax, it goes to war, which can be used to build roads, which can be used to build everything, and which can be saved so that when people are old, they can get their pension. I'm so happy that he has won, really. I'm really so happy because this, can you imagine Ukraine is just milking money. He knows where to milk money. That is why even Poland, they don't want to support it a lot, because they know it's a way of milking money from these NATO allies. And I know Trump is not gonna just look for like that. It's gonna stop it. It is going to help immensely, especially on taxation policies and develop policies.
Brenda, what, and I want to weigh in on this from the angle of justice. And I want you to. This is why sometimes I like to ask people to substantiate, because you've talked so much about it. Now I want to put you to task, because I didn't want to do this, but let me put you to task. I want you to compare the taxation policy when Obama was the president, then Trump took over in 2016, and give me the changes that happened in terms of in Europe, in terms of all that, because this is a leadership that has been there before and can be judged based on previous policies again. So I want you to look at that, compare the Obama era and the Trump era, or even compare right now Biden era and the Trump era in 2016. Then we can have some facts there. Thank you.
Like now Biden era, let me give a good example of Biden era. There's a lot of inflation through this issue of this war of Ukraine has costed a lot in Europe. Yeah.
Let me put this into perspective. Brenda, you are talking about this war, and from how I heard, you talked about the PM of Germany. So I'm trying to assume you're talking about the country you are referring to so much is Germany. I want to put you into task, because Germany has not supported Ukraine even fully in this war. And also, even when the investigations are ongoing about Nord Stream, Germany has even been sending very limited support to the Ukraine.
You know why?
But I want to put you to task about this. I want to put you to task about this specific war. Up to now, how much has Germany spent? The total amount of aid Germany has given to Ukraine. Do you know about the amount?
It's going to reach trillions. That is the worst part of it. And you know
why? How much and what type of aid?
I don't know exact figure, but it's going to reach trillions. And you know why Germans are a little bit, the government of Germany is a little bit afraid to get, because the opposition is against it. So it is not going on. It is going just halfly because of the opposition. No one is standing for this war in Germany. It's only, I don't know how to put it, when I could have just communicated myself in German. It's only this Green Party and SPD who are just pushing for this war. And this war has costed a lot.
So let me ask you, Brenda, because I want us to put some facts into this. I mean, how did the Biden administration wage this war? If you can just answer that.
For me, the Biden administration, I think, from my opinion, they could have just stayed out from this war, because by
how did you want you stay out in terms of what? Like allow Russia to invade Ukraine? That's what I'm asking you.
So that they sort themselves out, because when this NATO ally could have not helped the Ukraine, this war could not go far the way it is. And that is why through engagement of NATO, because of this NATO thing, the escalation is getting bigger. I wish they could
are you supporting? So now let me understand. Are you supporting Russia invading Ukraine because Ukraine wanted to join NATO? So you're supporting Russia invading another sovereign nation?
I'm not supporting it. I think when NATO could have not engaged in itself, there could be a little bit of diplomacy there inside.